We've got, let's take a look at the condo market based against the new product that's out there. Right now we've got 18% of the new listings that come online will sell the first time around. They've either got to be terminated, reduce the price, withdrawn, put back on the market, and so on. So we've got a very low percentage of the first time on the market selling. You can get cash out of your investments, though, because you can use second mortgages or bring in a partner. We also have government influence. Regulations can affect us, planning and policies. I just want to relate. We own properties in Edmonton, Red Deer, and Calgary. So I just want to draw the differences between that. In Edmonton, fantastic. The city says, you know, we want to put a basement suite in. Great, come on. It's zoned RF3. It's only 33 feet wide. Go ahead, put it in. They come out, take a look at it, do the fire code thing, you know, drywall in the furnace room, puts the smoke detectors in, big windows, the normal stuff. Great, okay, you're done. Stamp, you're off. Okay, Red Deer, we did a half a dozen or 8 places up there. Okay, a little bit more there. Well, I got to apply to the city. They got to go through the reading. They post notices, you know, send it to all the neighbors. They come in and do pretty much the same thing they did in Edmonton, though. Okay, drywall, smoke detectors, you know, that type of thing. Get it all done. Okay, stamp, you're done. Okay, Calgary, I don't own any of these things with basement suites or anything, because Calgary, over the last 4 or 5 years, has managed to squeak through. Now I think it's up to 5 legal basement suites in a city of over 1 million people. You know, and that was on an incentive where they're going to give you $25,000 to create a basement suite. Well, it's kind of a joke, you know. So the government and the regulations, can they affect you dramatically? Absolutely. So real estate is at that whim. So this is something here, if you've never read any of the books by Kieran Trass, fellow out of Australia or is it New Zealand, I can't remember. He's been studying real estate for the past 25, 30 years across the world in industrialized nations. And so what he took a look at, he said that a lot of people are teaching not the cycles, pardon me, but more on the fact that, is that my battery going dead? No, I'll check. That's hanging in there. But anyways, what he's talking about is that people have been talking about a spring, summer, fall, and winter in real estate, as far as pricing and so on. And he backs it out and he says, you know what, let's take a look at it as being cycles, the boom, bust, and recovery, which we've been seeing for centuries. Within those cycles, there's still a spring, summer, fall, and winter. So there's a beginning and a middle and an end. There's a transition through there. So if he's got 2 books out there, and some of the things that he highlights is he looks at 3 things. The demographics, the financials, and the emotional parts of the market are key drivers that he takes a look at. And I wrote down, it's not on that sheet there, but he talks about it as being like a compass or a GPS. And at the beginning of the recovery, the peak indicator that's been seen has been that the real estate affordability is at its maximum. So if you've been listening to RBC and things like that, what are they saying about Calgary right now as far as our affordability? We're probably back up to about as high as it's been for quite a long period of time. The beginning of the boom, and Harold, you'll recognize as soon as I say this, the beginning of the boom, the GDP is at its highest for the country and the province and the city and so on. We're producing like crazy, so that's the beginning of it. And we've all just been through this one. The key to the beginning of the slump is that real estate values have peaked. You know, so we're all mesmerized by 07, where we thought it was going to go on forever type of thing, and we're all going to be, Calgary is going to be the new Dubai. So that's the GPS part of it. Now, if we take a look and we drill down more on the economic basis as far as a particular property or what's happening, the key thing about a property is you could change the use possibly, you could buy it below value, you can increase the rents, or you can do renovations that increase the value. That's something that's property specific. And as far as some of the key economics that we should be taking a look at, is there a demand increase in the area? Is there transportation improvements? Has inflation started to increase? Are we in a spring or a fall within that cycle? So there's different strategies and tactics that you would use in a boom versus a slump. There's still money to be made in the real estate. You just have to be doing different things. You can't be flipping properties in a slump as the market is going down and you're trying to, you know, you're chasing it all the way down. Some of the strategies that we use right now, the rent to own and the lease options, work great. And is there net in-migration into the area? Statistically, again, on a very broad average, for every 1.6 people that move into a city, they're looking for 1 residence. okay? And we took a look at Calgary, and I think I did this in my last presentation there. Calgary, we're at about 2.2. So for every 2.2 people who move into Calgary, it creates the need for one more residence. So as long as we've got in-migration, there's demand for rental properties. So what have we done? I created something called the Hybrid Action Plan, and this is why I'm selling off some of my properties and applying these tactics and saying, well, why did I go ahead and, you know, walk the talk type of thing? We've got properties kind of scattered all over the province here right now, and we're selling some of them off for specific reasons. Some of them to move into different residential ones, but also we're getting into land development and on commercial investments. So what we did is we took a look at, if I was starting out again, which I'm doing literally right now in a sense that I'm starting over again, is I'm going to combine rent to own and the buy and hold. And I'm just going to raise the rents, you know, 2-3% a year, not rocket science. So these are the steps that we go through, the 8 steps if I wanted to get somebody fast-tracked and started right away in real estate investing. They have no idea, I want to get started, I want to buy either my principal residence or I want to buy my first real estate investment property. What do I need to do? Well, I want to find out where the market is at. That goes back to that GPS and the roadmap. So I want to make some notes, get a detailed map of my area, go drive around those locations, and focus on the numbers. And one of the things I didn't include today, but when I calculate a couple of things as far as the value of the property, I use a net operating income type of a scenario, whereas if I can't make that thing cash flow at whatever dollar value this person is asking, why am I trying to chase it and make the numbers work? I see this happen with people, especially with apartment buildings and other types of businesses, those types of investments. Why try to make the numbers work? If they don't work, they don't work, or you're just going to have to come in with more money down. Simply put, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. Why squeeze it so tight that you're never going to make any money at it? So, I should back it up. So this is what we do in the first week. We say if you could spend 2 or 3 hours, no more than that, just spend 2 or 3 hours, go through that GPS, what's happening in the market today, bang, take a look at it. Do I look in the media or just on RBC and a few websites like that? Get a map, say, listen, you know what, I'd like to invest within 45 minutes of my home. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go crazy, and I'm not going to be investing in Puerto Rico or the Barbados or, you know, somewhere else. I'm going to find a location that fits those factors, get a map, and go out there. And, you know, take a drive around. So that's part 2. Second week. Okay, so let's learn about the neighborhood. We pick some neighborhoods in Calgary, because that's where we're at right now, and decided to go out and check them out. Drive through, make some observations. Our rule of thumb as far as buying a property pretty quickly for somebody who skipped through number 1, which a lot of people do, is drive through a neighborhood, and if I drive down the street and there's derelict cars sitting on the front lawn with no license plates, okay, and I drive down the back alley and it gets worse, that's probably not the area I want. That's got a long ways to go for transition, okay? Then I drive through another neighborhood, and there are people jogging. There's people walking their dogs with pretty leashes and so on. It's probably not the area I'm going to be looking in. Although the neighborhood I drive down is, I go through the neighborhood and most of the lawns are mowed. Most of the cars look like they run and are sitting on the driveway. You know, so I just want that middle of the road. I don't want the bottom of the barrel. I know there's people who buy there and they just love it because they can get them to cash flow, but I'm not into babysitting somebody who can't get their act together, let alone try to pay me rent. You know, the rest of their life isn't so much problem. So I'm not there. So evaluate if it would make a good investment. And how am I doing on time, by the way? Okay. So week 3, what do? Okay. So in week 3, I'm brand new. I have no idea. I moved to Calgary. I did what Randy said. You know, I went through the market. Yeah, it looks like it's growing. I drove through a few neighborhoods. I have no idea what's going on. Can I make this work? What I do is I call property managers. On the commercial side, I'll phone the commercial property managers. On the residential side, I'll phone a property manager and ask them, say, well, what are the rents? You know, I just moved to town here. I rented an apartment building. I'm looking to rent a house wherever. Okay, do some research on what they're doing. They might ask you, well, what are you asking me these questions for? Well, I'm going to be buying some properties. I want to look at something that's going to cash flow. Okay, great. Then take a look online and go to Rent Faster or Rent Spot and all these ones that provide some analysis information. Find out what the rents are. Get some references from the property managers as far as some people that they've worked with. And then look up at their portfolio. And this one really is targeted at the guys that have more than one property. If you have several properties and you go to a property manager and they're renting a large pool of similar properties that they own, they like to rent their own first before they rent yours. So you have to watch, you have to kind of maybe a bit picky and choosy on who you choose for a property manager. Not to say that's a general rule of thumb, but you do want to find out that, you know, that you're going to be put at the top there to get my place leased out here. It's empty and the grass is long and my bank account's getting sucked dry. So that's week 3. Week 4, we pick on the FSBOs, the for sale by owners. And the reason being is, don't have to involve your realtor or run around with somebody like that. There's lots of people who have a sign stuck on their lawn. There's for sale by owner websites, you know, they're posting all their stuff. So, okay, so first of all, you've got your target market wherever it is. You said, you know what, I'm going to be focusing on this particular area in town. I'm going to focus on Shaughnessy and Millrise and maybe some areas down along the LRT in the southwest. Okay, great. Let's go find some for sale by owners. Obviously, they got their email out there and they got their phone number. They want to sell the place. Great. Go shopping. No different than going to downtown and cruising through the malls. Here we're going to go cruise through a few for sale by owners. We're going to go through each property and rate them, take a little checklist. I've got 2 checklists I use. One is from Amerispec. If you go online, they have a fantastic checklist that tells you about how much it's going to cost to do all your renovations. Even if you want to use it for your own home, so when somebody comes over and quotes what it's going to cost to do your bathroom or your roof, Amerispec has a very, very, very well done checklist. The other one that I have relates back to the 15-minute one, where what we've done is we've drilled down to about the top 10 or 12 things that you should look at on the renovations. Stand on the outside of the house and figure, okay, I'm gauging the size of the house for the roof, figure out how many square feet there is. If it's got to be re-roofed, I should have X amount of dollars. The doors, the windows, kind of all that stuff real quickly. How many square feet are on the floor? I'm replacing the flooring at $5 or $10 a square foot. I don't care about underlay and all the rest of it. I just know that if I got to pay somebody to drag it away, put it in, I can get it replaced for that. It's got to be quick, okay? Time is precious. Estimate the cost of repairs and improvements. Okay, you're done for the week. I've looked at 3 houses. Yeah, you know what? I know that house is going to cost this, this, and this. Probably would rent for X amount of dollars. I'm done. Week 4 is done. Come on, pointer. Okay, so week 5, what do we do? Okay, so we're going to look for a realtor that probably has some investments of his own. Okay? In other words, not the person who says, you know what, buy this property, the rent is going to cover the mortgage. Well, if that's as far as you're going for analysis-wise, that thing is going to suck all the cash out of your back pocket real quick. The reason why you want to work with a realtor, in my opinion anyways, it leads to better and faster deals, although you'll probably see fewer properties because the filter is put into place. What I do is there's, and I know Rain talks about having a rule of thumb as far as your yield is 8 or 10% or whatever it might be. Right now we're not seeing that percentage of returns in Canada. If you want to see those types of returns, you're either going to have to go to a small town or go south across the border, which is nothing wrong with that too. But what I do is a very quick analysis is I take a look at the price of my money and the yield of the property. So if I am borrowing at 4 to 5% long term, that means my yield has to be 6 to 7%. If I don't have that 2% spread, it's not going to cash flow. We use that when we take a look at apartment buildings. We use that on retail plazas. It's just that 2% spread on money. We can make money at that. If it's not 2%, it's not going to happen. So we're going to follow those FSBO inspection procedures there as far as going through some properties. And I know I'm talking fast, so by all means, when I make mistakes or you have questions, just say something. Okay, so step 6, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to review our values. And I talk about market rates, use an NOI calculator. Whatever they're asking, you know, so be it. If you've targeted a particular area and you say, you know what, I know this little house in Shaughnessy, I can make this thing cash flow at, you know, at whatever dollar value it is based on your rents and everything else and the cost of your money, great. And if they're asking, you know, $295,000, but I can't afford to pay more than $275,000, well then it's $275,000. That's what it is. It is what it is.
Brandon?
Yeah.
What's NOI?
Oh, net operating income. So what is it? What do you actually get out of the property after all the expenses are taken away? Oh, and this is a quick rule of thumb backing it up. If you ever have a realtor that's talking to you about, okay, this is what your rent is and it's going to cover your mortgage, what we normally do is take the income for the year and multiply it by 65%, allowing for 35% expenses to run this business. And that's probably about the income that you should get out of the property. Now, single-family homes, we can drive it down more. But I use that kind of as a blanket. On apartment buildings, we're running 35–40%. I've seen some go up to 50% easily, type of thing. But if you use that 35% expenses, you won't be too far out, and it really cuts to the chase. Here's my annual income, here's my expenses, will it cover, make all the payments, and stick some money in my pocket? And the expected costs, it is going to cost you something to run that property. You are going to have to do repairs and maintenance. Unless it's...
Can you run an example by my math skills are a little slow?
Yeah.
So if I have a property and I'm renting it out at $2,000 a month,
Yeah. So it's
then
24...
run those numbers again?
Yeah, so it'd be $24,000 in 1 year.
That's how much income I'm getting.
Correct.
Okay.
So I would take that total income of $24,000 and multiply that by 65%.
Why?
Because 35% has gone to expenses. That's before debt coverage. Okay? So the reason that
This is of what?
about 35% of that income coming in will be gone out to expenses. And that'll cover property management, insurance, property taxes, you know, the gamut, repairs and maintenance. If you try...
The renter is then going to pay water and electricity and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So I'm left with my management fees, which you said was roughly 10%.
Yeah.
And then I have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And what else? Insurance.
Your insurance,
Okay,
Yeah.
insurance.
your repairs and maintenance,